My preliminary findings, these were my research questions, which I've been told by my supervisors I must go back to because I've gotten into so many other things that I've found interesting. So this was, what were the effects of live recorded on individuals, individualized music with someone with dementia? And what I found were things like, it's always some, it was nothing across the board. That's one of the things you need to know right away. Some residents became very engaged. They whistled, tapped their feet, sang along all the words as you heard earlier spoken about, did dance steps. I had marvelous Highland dancing going on, and people would be asleep and they would still be doing dance steps. It was amazing. Some residents fell asleep. Some were frustrated that they could not remember the tune, and it was extremely irritating to them, and I had to create song sheets for one woman. And then you could see this minute of recognition when they were like, that's what it is. I know what it is. And they would just be so happy that they recognized the tune. Some residents were became very verbally engaged with both myself and the carer, much more than normal, about the music, reminiscing, all number of things, joking around, sort of all sorts of things. Some residents made no visible effect at all. It was very apathetic at times. And some asked me to stop early, and they retired that session. Some refused me coming in at a few of the sessions. It's one of those things where, just like for any of us, you might not want that piece of music that day, or you might not feel like music at all. They also tended to like fast music rather than slow tunes. And I was surprised that sad tunes, except for Danny Boy, were not necessarily what they wanted, but I also threw in some Bach in a couple of places that wasn't on their favorite list necessarily, but they all really liked it, and that's something for another time. But and in terms of the recorded versus the live, that depended. For some, it didn't make any difference that I could see on video or live at all between the recorded and the live, which was a surprise to me. For some, it made a great big difference. They really responded much more, and they got quite bored and almost annoyed when I was doing the recorded, partly because also there was this big gulf of space then, and that was awkward, especially for Scots. I learned this. Being an outsider, I had to learn a lot of things about the cultural norms. That wasn't comfortable because I was sitting there and they were sitting, and it was too intimate in a way. So that was another kind of piece of information that I wasn't expecting. In terms of the resident participants, here's some quotes. Maggie says, "This is like a dream. I've sat here for ages, downstairs and nothing doing. And I come up to my bedroom and a musician comes in. Somebody's here playing all this music for me, just like a lovely dream. And when I played live for her, she just said, this is like a dream over and over," which she never did when I played the recorded, which was interesting. Adine says, "Yes, oh, I love that music. Carried away right enough." Aileen, "I would just be sitting and watching the television." You'd rather be watching the television? No, I'd rather have music. So, for the primary carers, same question. Oops, messed up. Put that up early. For the primary carers, for some, they felt like it was a time of relaxation. It was this time where they could just sit and not be worried about anything. For some, it was quite stressful. They felt like they had to be very vigilant and watch their loved one or the person with dementia. They had to be watching every move, and there was a little confusion about what was their position. And I think I have some fault in that. I wasn't maybe explicit enough about. I tried to be very clear that they could just relax and didn't have to do anything. But some, you could see it on the video, were very, I think it was a little stressful for some of them. For some it was boring, as they didn't like the chosen music, of course, because it wasn't their chosen music, it was their loved one's chosen music. And one person confessed she hates the cello at the end, and I was like, oh, that's not so good. It was distressing for some to see their loved one not responding enough. That was, one woman kept saying, you could sing, you could dance, you could, and I could see it was very hard for her. And for some, conversely, it was lovely to get to see their loved one really responding, and it would surprise them. They'd be like, oh my goodness, she's really enjoying this. So, and in terms of the recorded, they all reported that they liked the live more, but I can tell you on the video, I don't know. I mean, maybe they did, but a lot of them did not seem like they had much more of a different response to the live versus the recorded, quite honestly, except in some cases there were a few where it really made a difference. And so with the carers, she'd enjoyed it. This is a man who was very kind of an Eeyore guy, and he was 83 himself, and he just couldn't understand what I was doing at all, but he did enjoy it. And he said, she's enjoyed it anyway. Well, it's amazed at the memory she's got for the songs. It seems odd, but the memory is a queer thing, isn't it? It's been years since she's ever heard these tunes anyway. Well, for the first 2-3 notes or strokes of the fiddle, she's joining in. I think that probably it is proven almost that although most of the time he doesn't communicate much, but that when the music starts to play, you can obviously see that there's obviously something, like it's a switch on in his brain. I was quite pleasantly surprised by her positive reactions through it all because, sometimes she can be pretty grumpy and negative about things. The music sessions gave me a break and a chance to make conversation because otherwise it's hard work with her. And then with the engagement, which is what I found the most interesting personally for me, because I feel like music is a communication device and that engagement is the thing that I really want to see happening, either with me or with their life or with the other person. There seemed to be more physical contact between some of the pairs of participants as the sessions went on. The more sessions I did, the more comfortable everybody got with that. There was a shared focus, and sometimes there was this wonderful thing that happened of this really shared focus and kind of experience where there was sort of this equalizing playing field is the best way I can explain it. There was a lot of interchange between the carer and the person with dementia that generally does not happen. And again, with the recorded and live, it depended. I think that the live did instill a bit more engagement overall. I do think that that was true for the engagement. I would say that the live music was more powerful. And I'll just say that, in terms of that, Jean says, well, I touched her a lot more. When was that? When she was saying this is like a dream, and I touched her hand and said, this is for you. And this was a pair where they did not have a good historic relationship. And so this was very touching. She stroked her hair. She was very, very sweet by the end of this. At times, I think we almost played a game of Spot That Tune. We had other things to talk about, because when you're not there, our visit to Aileen is, well, it's about the family and what I've been doing, what she's been doing, what she's been eating, and what's been happening, and everything's fine, and then I smile and I go away. This was, we had other things to talk about. And that was a GP, by the way, this man who said that. So, and the staff also said things. One of the most helpful things was there's days when she does get upset that it can be quite hard to bring her around. So I think knowing that with the music can help the carers, and that can help plan care planning for everybody. So, and then there's various things about the way different places it's different, and barriers. I'll just say ethics that I described, inclusion criterion as I described, disseminating information to all the care staff so they knew what I was doing was very difficult. I did my best, but it wasn't completely, that became a barrier. Appropriate carer is a whole other topic, and it's very important, and it was one that I did not expect. But whoever's in that room with the person with dementia is going to make a huge difference on how they react and interact with whatever is going on in the room. Scheduling and unnecessary, unbelievable interruptions. People opening the door with signs on it saying, do not come in, music in progress, to give them tea. Knocking over video cameras. I mean, just... So, anyway, and then one care home manager has said to me, no matter what happens, it cannot be lost. You have opened the doorway. I'll just finish with that.